The Cavs really just did that. Came back from 20 down, beat the Mavs. Let's talk about his stunning Cavaliers comeback on today's show.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Welcome in to your episode for Locked On Cavs for Thursday, December 28th. I'm Chris Manning. That is Evan Dammarell. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code all lowercase LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, the Cavs came back from as many as 20 down without Donovan Mitchell, without Evan Mobley, without Darius Garland to beat the Dallas Mavericks, pick up another win during this injury crisis. I don't know if we can even call it, or I can call it a crisis anymore when they just keep on winning games. They're now 18-3 on the season, spurred by a 24-point, 23-rebound game from Jarrett Allen, 22 from Isaac Okoro, including a 4 of 7 mark from three, and Karis LeVert in his return, 29 off the bench. Luka had 39. It did not matter ultimately in the end. Evan, your big takeaway from Cavs Mavs is what?
I said the other day that the win they had over the Chicago Bulls was Cleveland's most impressive win of the season. And we talked about this game going into it, especially after Luka just absolutely eviscerated the Phoenix Suns and, made people question Kevin Durant's future in Phoenix. That's how bad it got. But, yeah, like Luka came out red hot to start the game. Seth Curry just couldn't miss from the perimeter, but the Cavs are really showing this identity that they can bend, but they won't break. And I think it's endearing just given the circumstances. If you're a fan or even somebody who watches this team, like it's exciting to watch them kind of dig deep and find ways to win like this. I think, again, having an all-star caliber big man in Jarrett Allen, who certainly loses some of that gleam when he's sharing the court with Mobley, Garland, and Mitchell, helps quite a bit. But this game was the most impressive win for the Cavs, especially because they didn't let the circumstances get the best of them. They didn't, really kind of fall to the trap of the Mavericks playing a lot faster. They stuck to their core ethos of just kind of grinding this out. And yeah, they erased a 20-point deficit. That's just their biggest comeback of the year. That's huge for them. And I'm beyond impressed.
There are some very specific things that I think get them this one. I think number one, the way they defended Luka in the first half left you wanting, but I think the dialed up intensity in the second half, I think really did a lot of work. Luka in the second half only has 10 points. He's 4-12 from the field. He's only 1 of 3 from three. He is 1 of 3 from the free throw line. He was clearly frustrated, and that's because of the way the Cavs played him. Dallas did a really good job earlier in this game in setting the tone early, and screening and getting Luka on switches on Tristan Thompson and others, and just letting him cook and do Luka stuff. It worked. I felt this game early, felt like a game where the Cavs were just outgunned, outmanned. We're not going to be in position to win. The defensive intensity pickup in the second half, the shot making at different points, Jarrett Allen's performance, they battle on the back of all of that. That's how you win a game like this. That's how you pull this off. Like this is a game, Evan, that the Cavs had no business winning. I think that the when you go down 20 and you don't have Mitchell and you don't have Garland and you don't have Mobley and Max Strus isn't shooting well in this game and you don't have easy buttons on offense in the way that Dallas does, you don't have business winning this game. And they did. And this is going to be one of those games that when you look back at the high points of this season, even if there is not a ton, I want to say you can pull from this and say, let's apply this to how we think of this team big picture. That's not what this game is. That's not what this stretch has been. What this game is, though, is going to be one of the high moments of the season because you just shouldn't win games like that, and you did, and that's both going to matter emotionally, and it could matter in the standings. That's just one of those games you love to find a way to steal, and by golly, they did it. It's baffling me that they pulled it off, honestly. Can't believe they did it.
Yeah, it is baffling. And again, to your point, like this is a game no one expected them to win. I think you and I included, many of the people going into this game, especially when Donovan Mitchell, who was at least considered a game time decision against Dallas, like was ruled out before tip off just because he's still dealing with his respiratory illness, or just a non-COVID related illness, I should say. You think like, okay, this is going to be an ugly one for the Cavs. And so far to start the game, it certainly was. Like I said, Luka was ripping the Cavs apart in the first quarter, 20 points in the first frame. Seth Curry is 4-4 from three. And you're thinking, okay, just pack it up and, hope that more players are healthy and available and just able to stand against Giannis and Dame when the Cavs host the Bucks at home on Friday. But this is the type of win where if you are a team that wants to take the next step, if you are a team that wants to prove that last season was a bit of a fluke and that you aren't going to be defined by the flame out that happened against the Knicks, like this is a win you can put in your cap, or as a proverbial feather in your cap, to really say like, yeah, the Cavs are turning the page a little bit. They are playing tougher on defense. I think the Jarrett Allen defensive possession against Luka was exhilarating just to see how hard and locked in he was, especially when a lot of people were questioning his overall effort and maybe commitment, especially after that Knicks series. Like it doesn't, it isn't a full exorcism on what happened last year, but like the Cavs keep stringing together really quality wins like this with like a lack of a lot of just shot creators or easy buttons, as you said, on offense. And yeah, just impressive, like mind-boggling stuff. And there's just a lot of good momentum heading into Friday's game against Milwaukee. And I don't want to say the Cleveland's like a shoe-in to win, but they have shown me something that like at least they aren't going to go down easily against the Bucks no matter what.
I mean, I think number one, maybe this whole team hasn't had a chance to exercise itself amid this year, but one person who has, I think, is Jarrett Allen. He has gotten there. I think the way he has played the last several weeks has been particularly, to me, just highly impressive. They are not surviving in the way that they have unless he is healthy, unless he is playing the way he is, unless he's like on the first possession of the game getting a touch to go downhill. And he, like, I'm gonna throw this. There's a tweet that our friends at Diamond Up Rocks threw up that is of a Luka moment from this game where you could tell how frustrated he got, and people on YouTube won't be able to see this, but this was how Luka is acting at the end of the game. Luka Doncic is like clearly visibly frustrated. He's clearly just angry. And you know why that is? It's because it's more than anyone else. It's because of Jarrett Allen.
It was so telling because Luka was sitting there pleading his case with the refs, and the Cavs were almost already across the timeline before he realized like, oh, I have to get back on defense. And I'm just like, yeah, that's kind of indicative of just like Jarrett Allen really just frustrated Luka this entire game. And like that play in of itself, like it could have been a foul. I'm honestly surprised Luka didn't get the superstar treatment on that play, and I'm surprised the refs let them play through the physicality and contact. But yeah, Jarrett Allen just had his number tonight, and that's just weird to think and say out loud because Luka is one of the best players in the world, and I mean Jarrett Allen's great too, just in terms of where he stands position wise. But to think Jarrett Allen is the guy who kind of shut down Superman a little bit is a little weird to say.
I mean, just the way that he sells the trap at the end of this game. The Cavs are up 3, and they trap Luka. And Jarrett Allen is absolutely poised. He is not fouling. He is not reaching. He's just using his 7-foot frame to contain Luka and force the ball into Seth Curry's hands, which was a thing that worked for Dallas a lot of this game. Luka would swing the ball to an open Seth Curry, and Seth Curry would get a 3. Make or miss, it was a functional play. It was an easy button. Jarrett Allen, at the end of this game, though, you want that to happen, and the Cavs are on top of that pass, on top of the only read that Luka had in that moment. That's excellent. He also, and the point that you hit on, Luka is whining for a foul call, and it was a great no call because Jarrett Allen was in the school of Roy Hibbert, just putting his arms up and being vertical, denies him. The Cavs win this game for a lot of reasons. We'll talk about Caris LeVert. We'll talk about Emoni Bates in segment 3 because there's something in this game that spoke to me about him. But Jarrett Allen is the fulcrum of what worked in this game. If I haven't seen who got the chain, it should be Jarrett Allen. And if it's not him, I would be confused as to why it's not him, to be frank. Maybe Caris LeVert, but Jarrett's just an absolute monster in this game, and he's at the heart of everything that worked. All right, coming up next, Game Awards. That's MVP. That's Stat of the Night. That's Play of the Night. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Our partners at eBay Motors have teamed up with Locked On Fantasy Basketball host Josh Lloyd to bring you some of the best fantasy picks each week, all season long. Whether you're prepping for a daily draft or scouting the waiver wire, every week we're going to provide you with players that are guaranteed to fit on your roster. So let's see who Josh just picked out for us this week on eBay's Guaranteed Fit Fantasy Picks of the Week. A name I like is Isaiah Hartenstein. Mitchell Robinson, Josh Wright appears to be out for the year, and Hartenstein is a clear add if he's available. One of the best passing backup bigs we have in the NBA right now. Going to play a lot of minutes for Tibbs. I love that ad as well. Josh Lloyd from Locked On Fantasy Basketball is going to help you win your fantasy championship. And eBay Motors knows a championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. That's the same you're looking for with your vehicle. For me, that's my Ford Bronco. I love that car. I will be driving that car until the wheels come off. But I can keep it on the road longer. I can find all the accessories I need, all the parts I might need with eBay Motors, because they have over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You can make sure so yours stays running smoothly. They have brake kits, LED headlights, roof racks, bumpers, whatever your baby needs, eBay Motors has it. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or your money back. Plus, at these prices, you're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Again, check them out at eBay Motors and check out Locked On Fantasy Basketball. And again, look next week for Josh's eBay's Guaranteed Fit Fantasy Picks of the Week right here on Locked On Cavs. Let's go into awards. I mean, it's Jarrett Allen. I mean, you could make a case for Caris LeVert at 29. He had the go-ahead three. We'll get to that. You could look at a lot of different guys here, I think, in terms of how hard they played and plays they made at different moments. Isaac Okoro had one of the best games we've seen from him this year, I think, and played heavy minutes more than anyone on the team. But how is it not Jarrett Allen, who, again, 24 points, 23 boards, 9 on the offensive glass, 9 of 17 from the field, a perfect 6 of 6 from the line, key in defending Luka, and the only player with a better plus minus than him was Dean Wade, who was a plus 15, Jarrett Allen a plus 14 in this game. I don't think there's any other pick besides Jarrett Allen.
No, it's not anyone else other than Jarrett Allen. He's been beyond huge for the Cavs over this stretch. I think like you saw a lot of everything, whether it was like that kind of behind the back pass to George, cutting George Niang, and Niang got to drew contact and got the and one, or just like the defensive sequence on Luka, where again, like you said, it was the right no call on the ref's part, just because like you respect the verticality and Allen handling the assignment very, very cleanly against Luka. But like again, Luka could have got the superstar call there, but he didn't, because I think the ref just, realized like, yeah, this is a really good defense. It's like really hard to make that call like justifiably, other than Luka being a star. But Allen was just superb in this game, and that is what you need your star players to do when you are missing so many guys. And the Cavs are missing quite a few of their stars, and they're leaning hard on Jarrett Allen. I think he has dictated the flow and pace of this team offensively. He certainly set the tone for them defensively as well. And yeah, he was huge for this one. Like you said, like you give shouts to Caris LeVert. I think Craig Porter Jr. had a great individual performance as well. But yeah, through and through, it was Jarrett Allen from wire to wire in this game.
You have so for the record, that's your pick. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not debating you on it. Like it was Jarrett Allen was the best player in this game for the Cavs.
Yeah, no other choice. All right, play of the night for me is I'm going to go to Caris LeVert, because 2:02 to go. Caris takes a pull-up three that was confident, a little bold, a little early in the shot clock. I had a little moment of, are we sure this is a good idea? Are you sure about that? And it goes in, puts them ahead. They don't trail again. They needed Caris LeVert. They need him back for right now, especially to eat some innings to get this team to just function. And they needed someone who's going to take that shot with confidence, stick it. You could look at Allen stuff. There's a playoff shout if you don't. As a backup play of the night, but I think for me it's that Caris LeVert go ahead through 2:02 to go. That's the play of the night for me.
My play of the night was actually not the Jarrett Allen block on Luka, which you could say was one of the bigger defensive plays the Cavs made. I think one of the biggest ones, just in terms of setting the tone and maybe just kind of giving you like a brief glimpse into how the game was going for either team. But for me, my play of the night was just the Max Strus block on Seth Curry at the end of the game. Seth was definitely drilling the Cavs in this game. And you had mentioned it in the first segment, like Strus wasn't hitting a lot of shots in this game, but it's just something that I keep noticing with him whenever he is on the court for the Cavs, that he does give him that grit, that edge, and he's still making an impact despite his shot not falling. And I mean, JB Bickerstaff kind of put this bug in my ear. I think Max Strus kind of expressing similar sentiments, just is the same way, but like he's more than just a shooter, but like he's giving the Cavs a little bit of an edge and a little bit of dynamism that maybe they're lacking, and just like that and one more play that you kind of get from these guys just because they just keep finding a way to win. And it's just impressive. Again, like I think that was just another like definitive defensive play on the Cavs part, and it came from a guy that you usually don't expect to be stepping up defensively, at least if like you're just talking about this Cavs team on a casual basis.
The other play is the Jarrett Allen play. Not just the block, but the fact that he hits 2 free throws at the other end, something George Niang could not do later, which left the door open for Dallas. George Niang also giving, I think, everyone mild heart attacks with passing the ball in very weakly, but also Isaac Okoro is not on the screen, so that was a little dicey, a little Earl Clark PTSD for the old heads. But that Jarrett Allen makes the free throw, 6-6 for line for him. Again, another stand-up play there. All right, stat of the night for me, it's 3-point volume. It comes down to a little bit of math in this game. The fact that the Cavs right now are playing a certain style, playing a certain way to make this game work. They took a number of threes in this game, a high number of threes in this game, and had a big advantage over Dallas in terms of volume. They took in this game 43 3-pointers, making 17. Dallas took 37, making 10. Again, the percentage is better. That's a big part of it. But the volume and taking that number of high percentage of your shots from 3, nearly 50%, is part of the reason why you're able to make that kind of comeback and why you're able to pull off this kind of win. Evan, what's your stat?
I mean, that's a really good stat and good shout, just because the Cavs just are undermanned and were certainly outgunned on paper against Dallas heading into this game. But my stat is the fact that Cleveland is now 5-1 in the wake of the Darius Garland and Evan Mobley news. And during this weird stretch where Donovan Mitchell's been unavailable, they're also 3-1. So like, still a little hard to believe that the Cavs just kind of keep on keeping on with. I mean, you expect them to show out against, or at least show up against, some lesser opponents, but like they do have some very strong wins, whether it's against Houston or that win against Chicago or this one against Dallas. Like the Cavs that keep stringing together pretty consistent basketball, and they're finding who they are and what they can be as a team. And I think that can be infectious going forward. And I think the record just kind of speaks for itself that they are playing well despite, the circumstances just kind of thrown at them.
Before we finish this up, does a win like this and them winning the way they are right now without their stars and without their best players, does this tell you anything new that you feel like you're learning? Like I think tactically there's not, but I tend to think that maybe there's something we're learning about the identity and the belief inside that locker room a little bit about pulling out wins like this. So to you, Evan, is there something you can learn from the way they're playing right now, despite with their backs against the wall and everything going incorrectly?
That's a good question. And like you said, tactically, no. I think we're seeing a lot of sameness from last year on kind of, or at least what got to the Cavs to this point, which is a lot of sound defensive scheming and just, not maybe being phased by the gravity of the situation. So growth and maturation on that part. But just infectiously, like this is like a huge culture thing, because we talked about this, like this Cavs team clearly hasn't tuned out or given up on JB Bickerstaff, and Bickerstaff continues to keep stringing together some pretty impressive wins, despite the circumstances he keeps having to deal with. And I'm interested to see just like how this applies to the team when they're fully healthy. But it's hard not to look at this and say like, okay, the Cavs are starting to find a bit of juice that they've been lacking to start the year. And weirdly enough, it's coming at like the most inconvenient time for them, but like hopefully that's just applicable to when this team's fully healthy. And I have a feeling it is, just because like it's simple stuff tactically that it can just kind of keep building this momentum until the Cavs they're looking consistent. Like they just keep building on that and they just make that their regular style play every night.
Well, I think when they're fully healthy, there's going to be some reversions back. But I think Friday, let's say you get Mitchell back Friday and you win that game, it's going to be a loud arena. There's going to be some really positive energy as you head into 2024. And for a team that's had such a weird start to the year, has had a lot go wrong, a lot of questions about its future that'll still be there, that kind of run can do you some real good. All right, coming up next, Emoni Bates, Craig Porter Jr., some development for them, what particularly this game tells us, especially about Bates. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at PrizePicks, which is the best and biggest DFS platform out there. With basketball season here, you can now bet combo projections across football and basketball from their specials league. That is a league created specifically for combo projections across football and basketball, and you can pick two or more players from different sports or leagues. So, for example, you could go LeBron James and Travis Kelce at a combination of 10.5 3-pointers made and receptions. Plus, if you want to play along some of PrizePicks' favorite players like the rapper Meek Mill or the comedian Andrew Schultz, you can now find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries from some of the biggest names in the PrizePicks community. And best news I think we have here, PrizePicks now offers Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits into your account this basketball season. So go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use our code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, that's prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, that's daily fantasy sports made easy. So this is not the headline of this game, Evan. Obviously, the 20-point comeback, Jarrett Allen, all of the stuff we've talked about is. But Emoni Bates, I think, for what he did in this game in a limited role ultimately, and ultimately not a huge impact on the outcome. He only appears a little bit. He only plays in the first half. He does not play a minute in the second half when this comeback is on. When the Cavs really lean heavy on the starters and all of that down the stretch. But for him, the energy he played with in the first half, some of the plays he made, some of the little runs that he caused without making a shot, without actually doing the one thing he is actually, I think, NBA level at right now, which is just taking and making shots. For him to have a little 5-minute run with the energy and all of that, I think he looks like someone who still has a long way to go, but I think is better than where he entered the league at. And that is something. And I think for him and for this team, his development is going to remain one of the most interesting stories to check in on every now and again over the next 6 months to a year, whenever he's finally just going to have to be thrown to the wolves and we see what's finally here. But right now, I feel like he has improved and looks like he's growing into whatever he's going to become.
Yeah. And it's actually interesting you mentioned that because friend of the program and host of the It's Cavalier pod, Mac Perry, actually had an interaction with Emoni Bates five days ago. As recording this on Twitter.com, where Mac just says like Emoni Bates still needs reps, and that's okay. And Emoni, as many know, is very much an online presence. He is very much involved in social media, but he says, I usually don't comment on this, but I gotta get a feel, bro. I played 2 NBA games with actual minutes besides preseason. Hell yeah, I gotta adjust. It's a new game, but as anybody, the more you play and get reps, the faster and quicker you learn. Just watch when I get and see how I hoop. And then Mac replies saying, absolutely, man. I don't think anyone questions your talent. We all believe in you. It must be hard to get a feel when your opportunities are as sporadic as they have been. We've already seen you do some great things at the G League level. And as your NBA minutes increase, I think more your impact and feel in the court will as well. Just keep grinding. And Emoni said, facts, it's no rush. The opportunities are going to come. And I think, like you said, these are just unprecedented circumstances, whether it's Bates or whether it's Porter Jr., who we'll touch on in a second. Like, these are guys that in an ideal situation, and ideal in terms of just health, neither would really realistically play for the Cavs. They would be spending as much time as humanly possible with Mike Garrity and the Cleveland Charge, getting a ton of on-court reps and opportunities, learning Cleveland's offensive system or defensive system and the intricacies that go with it, and then probably head into next year prepared either to be one of those break glass in case of emergency type guys, or they still continue just like cooking out on a 2-way contract until they can become an impactful role player for the Cavs. And due to these injuries and the fact that the Cavs are just like, lacking overall bodies like they are, having to lean on Bates and Porter Jr., surprisingly not Isaiah Mobley still, but either way, he did show some things. Like there were moments where like he again just isn't afraid to shoot the ball, and I think you want him to kind of take those shots, even if you're willing to sacrifice a possession to let him grow and maybe find his footing out there. But there's also like that assist he had to Jarrett Allen in the first half that like was just
Mm-hmm.
really, really sharp. And I'm like, yep, he can be a bit of a, I don't want to say full-time point forward, but he did showcase some vision during summer league play. And I think he showcased it at times with the Charge when he is on assignment with them. Like there is something there. And we always say like the most easiest way for the Bates to get consistent minutes in JV Bickerstaff's rotation is defense. But if he kind of gives you those little sparks on offense in the limited minutes that he's out on the floor for the Cavs, it at least gives you an idea of, yeah, like you said, what he can be as a player. And also like maybe there's just opportunities for him to keep making like quote unquote winning plays like that allow him to get more reps and opportunities on the floor.
I think where you look at his G League stats, they tell a story, I think, about where he's at high volume. He's averaging 25 a game, shooting 41.6% from three on over 10 threes a game. That's over 50% of his shot diet at the G League level right now. He's averaging 1.6 assists versus 2.1 turnovers. He's absolutely a shooter first and foremost. There's still frame stuff. All that stuff remains true. But some of the fact that he has that assist to Jarrett Allen, even if the G League numbers at scale and his overall, I think how he looks at certain points is not all the way there. There's something there that is being improved on, and where it goes is going to be fun. It's a little bit different energy because he's obviously playing, and I think he's just more composed right now is the way I would put it.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel the similar about Craig Porter Jr. because with all the injuries, he's getting real run. He's starting games. Probably ends Friday if Mitchell is back, obviously. But he's getting to start games. He's getting to play. He's getting reps that are going to do him good. And he's understanding how to play. And he does make impact plays, even if there's still clearly work to do, especially as a shooter. He's going to have to make shots to really find a full niche, but that guy knows how to play and is translated. And as he's gone on, I do think he's gotten more comfortable. Looks like a guy that has also exceeded expectations and has been thrown into the deep end much, much further than Bates even, obviously.
Yeah, and JB Bickerstaff, even like it's a moment for me, but like for me, it felt reaffirming to hear it. But just like the fact that like he drove it like Joel Embiid with zero fear and just like didn't seem to be phased by the moment. Like he continually just doesn't seem to be a guy who is entering his rookie year after going undrafted out of Wichita State. Like he does seem kind of ready for the league. I think there are obviously obvious cracks in his game still. I think mostly just in terms of just not being like a guy who is going to get a lot of attention on the perimeter. Like he's going to get those Isaac Okoro treatments at times where defenders will sag off of him on the perimeter, but he is very much a box score stuffer and a stat stuffer. I should bet it's a better way to put it. And he has just been awesome for the Cavs. I think their best rookie. I think, credit where credit's due, I guess, to the Charge and the scouting department kind of keeping an eye on using these two ways and UDFAs to convert it into actual role players and just guys that you can round out your rotation with, whether it was Dean Wade as the past or like Craig Porter Jr. now. Like there are some wins here. And I think Porter Jr. is starting to really cement his case, at least that one, we talked about this already when he stepped up, like in that game against Denver or the game against Philly, like he's never going to go play for Garrity in the Charge. Like it's going to be a matter of when, not if the Cavs convert his 2A into a regular contract, I feel at this point.
Do you think, one on this, do you think he has been good enough and playing well enough that there is not a need to spend assets to go get a more veteran backup point guard? Do you think he's good enough to just fill that role, and then if they're going to make a trade, they could do it on something else?
So I think you should still have insurance at the position just because Garland is still pretty injury prone at times. Like he just has these freak injuries that sideline him. There are going to maybe be moments where Porter Jr. isn't the fail-safe solution for you, especially like in terms of shooting. And I'm always comfortable in just having an extra option just in case it doesn't work that night. But as you had said, like if Donovan Mitchell's back Friday against Milwaukee, there's a good chance Porter Jr. ends up coming off the bench for the Cavs instead, and Mitchell takes over as the starting point guard for Cleveland. So for now, sure, it depends on what you get. Like I assume we're just talking like flipping Ricky Rubio's contract and maybe a second rounder for the trouble of taking on Rubio's contract. Sure, you could look elsewhere where maybe it's more of a wing player or maybe like a more of a rebounding type wing player, but I'm always gonna be like more comfortable saying like, sure, you should probably have like a third guard just in case. But like Porter Jr., at least in my eyes, is the backup point guard going over forward for the Cavs. What about you?
I think yes, and my actual answer is the market is going to dictate this. The market and who's actually available and who actually springs the loose and what you can reasonably get will dictate this more than anything else. I think, but I think I would rather if you're going to have limited assets and the Cavs don't have a ton of assets, then I would probably I would not probably I would certainly rather spend it on trying to find a wing upgrade of some kind or it's just another body for that room than I would a backup guard. Now, the reporting out there seems to think the Cavs want to go get another guard, and I understand that. I understand that impulse, but I also I would not necessarily be sure that that is what I would want to use. If you're only going to get one trade, I might look in another direction, even if I understand the impulse to go for a veteran. But we're going to end there. That's going to be it for Locked On Cavs for December 28th. I will be back Friday, solo episode, resolutions for the new year. We're going to talk about Donovan Mitchell's future on that one. Spoiler. And then I'll have a recap of Cavs Bucks in your feeds Friday night into Saturday morning as well. I want to remind you that you can catch NBA games on SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search Cavs or whatever NBA team you want to listen to. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Back at you tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed the hoops.